Hello and welcome to the initial episode of the Thoughts from the Porch podcast. Very first episode. I'm your host, Mike, formerly known as Mr. Brown or Coach Brown, after teaching school for 38 years. Joined today with a special guest, the best person I know, the best teacher I know, my lovely wife. Her name is
Joni.
And what better day to have her as our first guest, because the day that this airs, she will be turning, how old will you be turning?
Um, I think like 60 maybe.
60 years old. And it's also her first official day of retirement. So it's a huge day in the life of
Woo-woo.
Joni Brown. Yes. Um, this podcast comes from requests from my years as a teacher. And what happened, my favorite things about teaching that I'll miss the most would be two areas. One is greeting students on their way in the door and those small conversations that happen during those times, those little 10-second conversations. And also, I taught math, and those times when math turned into a real life discussion, and we had a 2-minute life lesson, which was so fun. And what happened was, in the latter years of my teaching career, students would say, Mr. Brown, when you get done teaching, you need to do a podcast and just do all these life lessons. So that's kind of where we're going, and we'll see what happens, see if anybody even listens to them or not. But that's where this comes from, and we'll just see what happens. So we're going to start the very first one with a question that's happened to us several times lately. We go out quite a bit, don't we?
Yeah, probably way too much.
Yeah, we go out a lot to eat and other things. So the weird thing about that is, several times the last couple of months, people have just randomly asked us, how have you been married for so long? As of last Friday, we were married 39 years and dated 6.5 years before that, which is crazy. We're high school sweethearts. It's kind of a sappy story. That doesn't matter. So what we're going to talk about today is how we answer that question, and do we answer it well, and give you some tips of what's worked for us, and we'll see if you think they're any good or not. The first thing that pops in my mind when the first time somebody asked me that was just the word grace. Grace is one of my favorite words. If you don't know what it means, grace means getting what you do not deserve. And that's what love basically is. When our relationship, there's so many times I receive love that I don't deserve whatsoever. And that's one of the keys to it. How about you, babe? What do you think?
Um, Mine is kind of a funny thing. When I was cleaning up my classroom, so I have just retired from 25 years of teaching, and when I was cleaning up my classroom, I had these old bells in my cabinet. You know, the kind that you sit on a table and you just like put your hand down on it and it makes a little ding noise. And I thought our grandson Cooper might enjoy playing with that. So I brought him home, just randomly sat one on the end table in the den, and Mike has turned it into not a joke, but kind of just a funny thing where when you walk by, if someone hits the bell and rings it, you have to tell something you love about them. So it's been kind of fun and funny. Like for instance, today we went to one of my favorite places, the Pancake Pantry. Mike says we were starting to celebrate my birthday early. So when he rang the bell today, I said, I love how you took me to the Pancake Pantry today. So kind of corny, but you know.
Yeah, really sappy, but it is funny, and it's kind of fun to do. One other thing that we've started doing a lot, and again, the name of this podcast is Thoughts from the Porch. We have the best. The view you're looking at on your screen right now is a view from one of the views from our back porch, and we sit out there all the time. Well, at night we go out there for at least 30 minutes, no phones, no screens, no nothing, just the two of us, and have thoughts from the porch. And we talk out there. It's just a cool time. To be honest, it's my favorite time of the day. And so another thing to do is just have that time together without any distractions, and it's really neat. Of course, some of our distractions are cool too. If we do have to miss a night, it's probably because one of the grandkids is over or something like that. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
well worth missing. But
Oh yeah.
um, tell them what you went through about 6 months ago.
So 6 months ago, I ended up having to have a total knee replacement, which was probably the hardest thing I've ever been through in all of my almost 60 years. Mentally, emotionally, physically, all the things, and total rendered pretty helpless for a while. And Mike, I learned, was an amazing caregiver during that time. selflessly would get up at 3 in the morning and change my ice out of my ice machine, or make sure I had everything I needed, catered to me right and left. And it was a hard time, but also a time to see that love is more than just, taking you out to eat or whatever.
Yeah. And the weird thing about that, and this may sound cheesy too, but it's really true. As I was doing that, getting up at 3 and having to get up again at 6 or whatever to get ready to go to work, um, I enjoyed that. Like it's crazy to say that, but it was a way I could show the love that I have for her in a tangible way. And I think we get too caught up in being loves is some kind of magical feeling or whatever. And really, what love is an action. It's doing things to make the other person happy. That's the best way I can sum it up. We'll leave you with a little bit of advice and just some tangible things maybe that I've told my kids at school and I've told my kids at home growing up. And I'll let Johnny jump in once or twice too and see what we end up with here. One thing I always told my kids growing up and also in my classroom when it came up was always marry up. Always try to marry somebody better than you. Do marry somebody better than you. I sure did. My wife couldn't because she's the best, so that is what it is. But always try to marry somebody better than you if possible. What do you think?
Um, Mine is more of something I remember you telling our kids as they were growing up. Once they entered the dating phase, that if you're dating somebody, as soon as you realize that they're probably not going to be marriage material, you should let them go, move on, and look for someone else. There's no reason to waste your time dating someone who you could not see as a future spouse.
Sounds harsh, but it's really true. It's really true. One more thing I think about a lot is be careful where you find your potential partner. People often ask us too, like, where did y'all meet? Way back when you're in high school, where did you meet? And the answer is we met at church, which is, to be honest, that's the best place to meet any future spouse or any future relationship person is there. Lots of good places to meet. You can meet at school. You can meet all kinds of places. Church is obviously the only place, but you also know that everyone that's listening to this knows good and well there are places that you probably should not look for one, and a lot of people do, and you can get yourself in trouble there. Um, and that, I guess, kind of wraps it up. Can you think of anything else you want to share?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, again, these episodes you're here, just trust me, they're unedited, they're raw. We're just having a conversation and just talking about a thought, right? A thought from the porch or something that happened in the classroom. So hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment or maybe a suggestion of something you might want to hear stuff about, and we'll go from there. Appreciate you listening. And that's how we're going to finish the episodes, just like we finish class every single day with these three words: grace and
Peace.